Alright everyone, today we're gonna go into another hero spotlight, and it's actually for a champion that I thought I already covered and apparently didn't. And it's one of the OG that you needed to have, COLDHEART. And honestly, it took me on my main account forever until I got my first COLDHEART. It was actually kind of ridiculous because other friends of mine, they already had like 2, 3, or 4, and I was still waiting for my first. She is a fantastic tool. Now, ever since then, obviously, a lot more champions were added, so you have now others that can also do the same job. But COLDHEART has a couple of very unique features to her, which make her fantastic against a lot of bosses, and in particular, she is incredible for the Spider's Den. And she also helps you to speed up a lot of your runs when you're at the beginning of the game. When you're free-to-play player, you might not have some of the legendaries like Knut or Akrisha, so COLDHEART can be extremely good there. That she is a rare makes her a little bit more accessible, and also once you get her, it's easy to book her. So we're going to go over her spells a little bit. I'm going to show you one of the runs and what you can actually do with her and where she excels. So without further ado, let's jump straight in and take a closer look. So I have actually 2 COLDHEARTs on my account that I've built, and both of them were used to, for example, beat the Fire Knight and also go in and take the Spider down. But as you can see here, Fire Knight's Castle and the Spider's Den is where COLDHEART usually excels the most, but you can also use her in a lot of other areas. I, for example, utilized her quite a bit in the Doom Tower, in certain secret rooms that you needed to break through, and in the Dragon's Lair she can also be really, really helpful. Now, first we're going to take a look at her skills, and the one skill that is kind of the most important one is her A3. Now, there's a few things that are really special about this. First of all, she's a little bit easier to gear since you get an additional 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit. So if you're somebody that is generally struggling to get to a 100% crit chance, she is really good at being not that item hungry. You can, for example, get critical damage gloves in over crit rate gloves, and you will still get to your crit rate, you will get those critical hits, and you get a lot of damage outs. That's already amazing. But the most important part is actually that her damage is based on the enemy max HP, and that is incredible against tons and tons of bosses. It's one of the reasons why Knut, for example, with his A3 is just so important and such a fantastic champion, and similar things also for Akrisha, just to give 2 other examples. There's a few more in the game, obviously, but COLDHEART is one of the easiest ones to access, and she's absolutely fantastic. That you also can decrease your opponent's turn meter by 100% is another bonus that is really helpful against, let's say, the Fire Knight, because when he gets his turn, he brings the shield up again, and it just takes a long time for him to, or for you to break through the shield, and this is just speeding up a run in general and makes your run also a lot safer. The A2, probably the most neglected. I mean, it's kind of nice if you're trying to attack all enemies. You have a little bit of a decreased attack bonus in here. That might help you. You have a heal reduction, or sorry, you have actually, when your opponent is already under heal reduction. We're going to take a look at the A1 in a moment. But then you can also place some poison here. But again, at the end of the day, this is just a damage tool that you have on your A2. That's basically it. And on the A1, which is very, very nice if you're going up against the Fire Knight, for example, you attack 4 times at random. So if you only have 1 target on the other side, all 4 of these hits come in. Most of the time when you're going up against the Fire Knight, you will essentially just not use your A2 and only rely on the A1 and the A3. You want to use the A1 to break through the shield, and then the A3 to get the real damage in against the boss, against the Fire Knight. And the heal reduction that of course comes with this is also kind of helpful. So she's fairly straightforward in her abilities. She's not that hungry when it comes to books, and generally speaking, rare champions are obviously a little bit easier to book. So when you're looking at the equipment, there are quite a few ways of how you can gear her. Generally speaking, what you want, I have mine, for example, right now on what is this 70% crit chance, so that's exactly enough to get the critical hit in with her A3, which is the important part. You want to have some accuracy there as well in an ideal world, because you always want to apply the heal reduction on your A1 if you can, but more importantly, you want to utilize the turn meter reduction on your A3, and for that you need still accuracy. So you can put her in some accuracy banner, you can put a couple of perception sets in, which also speed her up, which is quite nice. But outside of that, what you're looking for is a minimum of 70% crit rate. You want to have as much crit damage as you can bring in. So you can, for example, put her in Savage gear, you can put her in crit damage gear, a little bit of perception, doesn't hurt either. You can see there's a couple of broken sets here on my end too. At the end of the day, it only comes down to the stats. Everything that you can do with a completed set is obviously going to help. So in total, the stats that I have for here is 70% crit rate, we have 283% crit damage, accuracy is 262. For most purposes in the earlier stages of the game, that's fair. If you're going into hard dungeons, for example, the equation changes a little bit, but generally, as we are mostly talking about free-to-play and early game, this is something that you can pretty easily get away with. You might not be able to hit all of these at once, but again, if you have a COLDHEART, definitely make sure that you build her, that you boost her, and she is going to be a fantastic tool in your arsenal to do all of that work. When we're talking about the masteries, generally speaking, most of the time you're going down the support tree. It's always nice to have Law of Steel, for example, to boost your stats a little bit more. You get the added accuracy on the right side, which is always nice too. Down here we're going, actually, let me scoot out of the way just a little bit. We're going into the Flawless Execution. If you want to go for the crit damage, you can obviously make some other choices. We can always come into, let's say, Helm Smasher, for example. Just the extra damage against boss. There's a couple of different ways on how you can actually like build her here, but generally, of course, you're going down the offensive tree and you're going down the support tree. So we can actually just quickly check if my second COLDHEART has slightly different masteries. You see, I haven't even gotten all the masteries in, but yeah, in this case I went over into Helm Smasher on the red side, so a slightly different build for that. But all you basically need is you want to boost her damage as much as you can. She's your nuker. Once she comes in, you have the turn meter control that she brings in and to have the nukes. I haven't really put any relics on them here, but generally anything that you have that gives you some additional damage is fine. You're already going to find yourself in a position with her where she is nuking everybody into the ground, but again, boost her damage a little bit further. Whatever you put on there is going to be fine. For the blessing, it's typically Hero Souls, which increases your damage based on how many enemies are alive on the other side. This is something that is typically used in the Spider's Den, so you get a lot of extra damage here too. It is a rare champion. You will get that soul quite a lot. I have souls on both of mine, at least a little bit. This code, for example, is also built slightly differently. You can see that when we're talking about the sets. I'm now in a perception set, and I also have a crit damage set here. None of the items are ascended. I don't really need to completely put all my S tier items on her. Again, she is very, very useful early on. But for example, if you're struggling in certain areas, then yes, ascend the items as well. But you can play around with things a little bit. I have a crit damage here as well. Damage, or sorry, speed, you want to go as high up as you possibly can. And that's basically what you need to know about COLDHEART here at the end of the day. So those are the most important things. You want her as a nuker, that's her job. You want to have a decent amount of accuracy just so you can apply the heal reduction on your A1 and then the turn meter reduction with your A3 nuke. And again, make her fast, always useful, hit the crit rate, and we'll just jump into a quick dungeon and I'm going to show you how you would utilize her. So this lineup is a little bit more elite. I'm gonna admit that right from the start. I don't only have the COLDHEARTs here, I have a Septimus and I also have a Krisha. So that's a lot of nuke damage immediately against the Spider. I actually haven't used this lineup in a long, long time. I have a completely different setup right now that allows me to go through hard 10 within like 15 or 20 seconds. So this is a little bit different, but you can see the idea behind it fairly quickly. So we're slowing that down. We're coming in with Lydia, and she is going to bring in her decreased defense and her weaken. So this is going to be the first setup. And the important part with this, obviously, is that you just want to have a debuffer. No matter how you're actually playing this, you want to have a debuffer first that just gets that all done. If you have not enough damage that you can instantly nuke that Spider, you just bring in a couple of support champions that keep COLDHEART alive and draw the aggro on them. Maybe you have somebody like Monster that can throw a shield out. So there's different ways how you can play this. A Reviver is always nice too. So if you are trying to go for a combination that is just speed running the dungeon, then the more damage you bring in, the better. You want to have your debuffer, and then you just unload on the Spider and you hope to kill her immediately. If it's something that you just can't afford just yet because you don't have the depth in your lineup, then just go for a typical composition where you have your supporters there. Maybe you have a Reviver as well. You still want to have a debuffer for your weaken, for your decreased defense. Maybe you have a decreased attack if it's a longer battle for you. As I said previously, Monster, who I also have a video out for, is also quite strong. Now I'm going to slow this down a little bit because we have obviously another max damage right here on Septimus, but I don't want to kill it too quickly. So we're just going to get a normal attack in for now, and then it's Coldheart time. So you take a look at turn meter. We're going to use her 8-1, so it's sorry, her A3. It's all about Heartseeker. So bam, we reduce the timer completely, so we're going to delay the turn on the spider, and we're going to get the damage in here as well. And this is essentially how you're going to play through this. So you will have a couple of runs where you have to play this one out, but this is exactly how you get the max damage in against the spider. Turn meter reduction, decreased speed is all helpful. I'm just gonna let this run out at normal speed, at 2x speed right now. Akrisha obviously is another champion that has insane amount of damage based on enemy max HP. As you can see, some of the Coldhearts here are also going to die, but this is only meant to just speed things up. So if Septimus already does this damage and then everybody else comes in, that takes the spider down pretty quickly. But as mentioned before, if you are looking more for a sustained battle and you just look for another damage dealer, you can use her here. With the Fire Knight, it's simple. Fire Knight, you expect a couple of hits to come in. You want to have a couple of additional champions that are also quite easily able to break through the shield. Coldheart is great with her A1. Get your team set up, lined up so that you are getting the A1 applied first. And then, of course, you want to come in with your A3s. But she is just a straight up nuke. That's just who she is. So she's going to get the nuke damage in. She has the turn meter control. Fire Knight and Spider Dungeon are the two where she excels the most, but you can use her in a lot of other dungeons and other areas. And you could technically just do all kinds of sneaky things with her. Coldheart is one of the best rares, void rares that you can get. And she is absolutely amazing. So if you already pulled one, congratulations. You might have used her a little bit wrong. Make sure that you hit that accuracy. I know I've been saying this a few times now already, but if you really want to have the benefit of the turn meter reduction, you have to be able to hit that properly. So it's all about the damage here, all about the nukes, and then tinker around a little bit with your own lineup. If you are going for sustain comp, get your reviver in, get your shields in, get your increased defense in, just keep her alive, and she is going to help you to break through more and more stages, and you can obviously also then start utilizing her a bit more in the late game. So that's it for today. Quick champion guide. Hope that you learned something there. Hope that it helped you if you already pulled one and maybe didn't realize what you had with her. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section as usual. If you have any advice, any other areas where you think she excels and where you personally use her, you can also let us know. And as usual, I'll see you guys in the next one. Give the video a thumbs up if you made it to the end, and thank you very much for watching.